Okay, so now we're going to keep rolling. We started off with a creative dose of energy and inspiration. We're going to get a little bit more tactical now. For any of you who are running power user programs or ambassador programs, or you're thinking about running those programs, you're about to learn from one of the best. How many of you are subscribed to theSkimm? Yeah, me too. Been there a long time. It's an amazing email newsletter that reviews all the news. So I don't read it that often anymore because I try to avoid the news sometimes. But their ambassador program is one of the best examples of these kinds of programs in the industry. It's driven a ton of growth for them. So excited to learn from our next speaker. Please give a big 12 out of 10 CMXM and welcome to Kara Cronin.
I feel like that was more of a 13, so thanks, guys. Well, I'd like to start out with a show of hands. When you were little, how many of you said to your teachers or your parents, when I grow up, I want to be a community builder? So pretty much just David. All right, so if you look back at your life, how many of you can pinpoint a specific memory or moment in time or ongoing experience that led you to where you are today that makes you think kind of, I guess it makes sense that I landed here? Pretty much everyone? Okay, so in preparation for today, I kind of took this walk down memory lane, and I was trying to pinpoint that first moment where I felt that. And it looked a lot like this. So this is a picture of me when I was 4 years old at my very first dance recital. So what you can see is little Kara, 4 years old, in a tutu, in the middle of some log cabin in the middle of New Hampshire. And what you can't see in this picture is the rest of my dance class standing in front of me actually doing the dance that we had rehearsed. So here I was, and moments before this, I had been right along with them, dancing, but dancing nervously, so I was staring at the ground. And then I just froze, dead center, and they all kept going. And this full audience of parents was probably wondering if I was about to pee my pants, or cry, or throw up, or pass out. And I didn't do any of these things. What had actually happened is when I was dancing nervously and looking at the ground, I saw this little ant crawling in the wooden panels of the floor. And so I did what any normal 4-year-old would do, and I got down on my knees, and I picked up the ant because I remembered right before I went on stage, there was a little ant hill and a bunch of ants across on the other side of the room. So I picked up this ant without a care in the world that I was in the middle of a dance recital, and I brought him over to his home and his friends. And I think that, at the time, said to me that ballet wasn't really my thing. But now looking back on it, I realized that that was kind of the first moment where I realized how important it was to me that nobody around me ever felt alone, and that it was really important for me to do everything in my power to help people find a place where they belong, help them find their way back home. And that was kind of a theme throughout my life. You can call me biased, but my mom is one of the most selfless and giving people you will ever have the pleasure of knowing. And she kind of just gravitates people toward her. Her personality is magnetic, and as you can see in this photo, she spent much of her career teaching kindergartners with special needs, and she spent much of her free time volunteering for pretty much every nonprofit organization in the state of New Hampshire that would have her. So she was always putting on an event, showing up to cook dinner at a local home for kids that were taken from their families. Every time I turned around, she was doing something incredible, and she was never doing it alone. And so she was not really a community manager by trade, but I've never seen anybody rally people together around something better than she can. So that was always something I kept with me throughout my life. And one example of her passion is her experience with Make-A-Wish. So she was a Make-A-Wish grantor. She still is. And she was so passionate and so proud to be a part of this organization, talk to anybody who would listen about her experience and share with them whatever her upcoming wish was. Many of the time, it was Disney World, as it's a popular one with the kiddos. And just about every time she'd leave a conversation, whether it was with her best friend or a complete stranger, that person would either show up the day of the wish and cheer her on, or donate something, or donate their time to be a part of it. And I actually hate going out in public with my mom because we can't even go grocery shopping without being in there for 3 hours because she will talk to every single person. But it's actually really impressive. So she ran this holiday party. She started a few years back for all of the Make-A-Wish families in the state of New Hampshire to get together around the holidays, get presents, spend time with one another, and mingle with the people who helped their families' wishes come true. And at this party, it was pretty much every single person I'd ever known in my life, and every person from my past. My preschool teachers were running the face paint station, and my ex-boyfriends were DJing the event, and my friends' parents were handing out gifts dressed as elves, and almost always there was a special appearance for Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse was actually my alter ego in high school, so I was probably dressed as Mickey Mouse more than I wore any other outfit. And this is actually a picture of me in an airport bathroom. So we're going to backpedal that a little bit. One thing that my mom did, or one conversation she had, led to a stranger telling her that he ran a costume shop and he wanted to donate Minnie and Mickey costumes to her to use to surprise all of the Wish kids that wanted to go to Disney. So we had no idea what that really meant or what the scope of these costumes were. But about a week later, Mickey and Minnie, life-size Mickey and Minnie, moved into my childhood home, and they're still there. And almost every week throughout my high school career, my mom would wake me up at least one day early for school and get me in the car, and we would race to the airport to make sure that we would get there before the family that was leaving that morning to go to Disney. And I would smuggle this massive costume into the airport bathroom in a trash bag and change my clothes, go to the check-in counter, and greet the family to give them a proper Disney send-off. And it was ridiculous, but it made me and them feel so good. So then I went to college, and it was really hard for me because I had this void in my heart. I was missing all of my mornings as Mickey and rallying people together for the community with my mom. And so I joined a sorority. And if you had asked me then, I would have been the first person to tell you that I was not cut out for sororities, just like ballet. So add that one to the list. So anyway, I also figured that I just moved 18 hours away from home and I didn't know a single soul. And sorority recruitment sounded like the easiest way to get to talk to a lot of people, figure out who my friends were, and then drop out of the process before I actually had to pay a due. Actually, I ended up loving it. And 4 years later, I was wrapping up my second term as president of my sorority and about to start my first job in the real world, a consultant for a sorority. So I packed all of my things in my college apartment into one 50-pound suitcase, and I lived out of it for a year. I traveled to college campuses all across the country where I helped women recruit new members to their sorority chapters and meet their chapter goals. It was amazing to me that these women all over from all different backgrounds came together because of one thing, and that was the love of the mission and the creed of the sorority, and because it provided them a home away from home. So you're probably sitting there wondering, what the F does this have to do with me? And the answer is actually a lot. So I'm assuming that when I asked you if you could think of a moment or an experience that led you to be in this room today, a lot of those had something similar to do with being the person that bent down to pick up the ant and bring it back to its home, or the person that put on a Mickey Mouse mask 5 out of 10 days of the week. There's not 10 days a week. But often, to make a fool out of yourself to make somebody else happy. And you're the people that have helped people find their home away from home. And I think that's something that all community builders have in common, no matter what industry you're in, is that the best communities are really built around something that people fall in love with. When people fall in love with the mission of something or your passion, that's when community follows. And I think a great example of that is theSkimm. Again, a little biased. But I currently work at theSkimm, and for those of you who don't know what theSkimm is, other than David's description, it is a media company that makes it easier for you to live a smarter life. And we are targeted at female millennials, although we extend beyond that. And basically started as a daily newsletter called the Daily Skimm. Hits your inbox every Monday through Friday, and it gives you the headlines and the skim of what you need to know if you're to go to a dinner party or a networking event that day, and helps you be conversational and really digest the news and learn pretty much everything about what's happening in the world. We now have a suite of products that extends beyond the daily newsletter. We have an app and a podcast. We have a video series and more. But I think the most interesting part of our brand is our community. And the interesting thing about the community is that when the company was founded a few years back, it was founded by two 25-year-old women who quit their jobs at NBC News because none of their friends had the attention span or time to pay attention to what was actually happening in the world. They weren't watching the shows that their friends were producing. And instead, they were asking, what's going on in the world? And they realized that it wasn't making sense, that they were spending all of their time producing these shows that no one in their demographic was paying any attention to. So they quit their jobs at NBC on the same day, and they launched theSkimm from their couch. And they had nothing. Within the first 2 months of the company, they had thousands of super fans, myself included, who had emailed them directly saying, I love this, I wish I thought of this idea first, and I really want to get involved. So what they did is they responded to each and every one of those people, and they said, if you want to be a part of this, go tell 10 of your friends about it, and we'll send you a free tote bag. So that's how it started, a free tote bag. And today, just a few years later, we have over 30,000 Skimm'bassadors all across the world. The Skimm'bassador program accounts for 20% of the company's annual growth, which is a huge number. We have a private Facebook group for Skimm'bassadors where they talk all day, every day. Last year alone, they had over 1 million native posts, not including comments or reactions or anything like that. And they talk about everything, which I will get into later. We also have 2,500 Skimm'bassadors who are at the forefront of our current campaign called No Excuses, with the goal to get 100,000 people to actually show up and vote in the midterm elections. And these people are doing this just because they love the mission of the company. That's how they came in the door. And this is what they look like. We threw 30 people on a plane, some of our best and brightest Skimm'bassadors, and sent them to Skimm HQ for a weekend over the summer, where we gave them a hardcore, nonpartisan political activism boot camp. And we basically trained them to run our No Excuses campaign alongside us in their local communities and activate. And these people signed up to be a part of this. They actually applied to be a part of this, getting nothing in return except for this training with a brand that they love. And it was very cool that our brand was powerful enough to bring them into this, but it's not what kept them. We asked each of them to get 50 people to commit to vote. That was their one goal. And this campaign has been launched for less than a month, and the 30 of them alone already have brought in thousands of vote commitments before the midterms have even happened. So pretty impressive. And they talk to each other every day. None of these people knew each other before they actually came to this conference, and they talk every day, strategize about how to activate their local communities, but they also cheer each other on in their personal lives and boost each other up when they need it. So I think it's really important to note that people come into this community and communities build around something that people fall in love with, a mission, a feeling, a passion. But that's not why they stay. I think communities grow and flourish when the people in them actually fall in love with each other. So Skimm'bassadors, over the years, have done a lot to help us reach company goals. You're hearing about our No Excuses campaign to get people to vote. They also helped us basically crashed the App Store when we launched our app. Literally got a call from Apple asking us if we hacked bots to give us so many 5-star reviews. And we realized that we wanted to give them a platform to help each other. So we started that with our Facebook group. And like I said, they talk about everything in there. They talk about current events, which we talk about in our daily newsletter. But beyond that, they've named each other's children. They've become each other's bridesmaids. They have met their bosses, their best friends. They've helped each other accomplish a lot. And there are a lot of powerful moments that happen in there every single day. This one in particular happened recently. And there was a Skimm'bassador who, she came to the group to share her concern and frustration and worry and panic because her brother was getting married in just a few days. And he was flying across the country to the destination. And he left the suit he was supposed to wear on his wedding day at the airline check-in counter. And so he called the airline and the airport, and nobody was helpful. And they refused to look for it, nothing was happening. And so she posted immediately in this group to see if anybody in that area had any connection to the airport or if anyone happened to be passing through. And in under an hour, over 50 people called the airport and the airline. They literally called our company and they were like, "What are you doing?" So we're getting harassed by your brand ambassadors. And they were all just looking out for this girl who they never met in person. But they wanted to help her family member have this successful wedding. So I think there were probably 5 people who lived in the area and actually offered to drive to the airport and look for the suit and talk to whoever they needed to talk to track it down. And one person who actually did. And she got to the airport. She spent a lot of time there. And finally, she got the suit. And she overnighted it. It arrived just before the wedding. He wore the suit to the wedding. And they credit her, this random stranger who simply shares a love for a brand, with saving their wedding day. And that's just one example of the things that happen in that group all the time. But we saw how powerful these connections were and how often they were happening on their own. And we sat back and we thought, what would happen if we did something to facilitate more of these connections? So, meet the B list. The B list is a Skimm'bassador bucket list. And what that means is we basically asked all of our members to tell us one thing that they really want to accomplish by the end of the year. It can be personal, it can be career-focused, really whatever. Just something that is important to them that they're passionate about. And we published them all on the private Skimm'bassador website for Skimm'bassadors to view. And you can read the story behind why this is important to them, their progress, so you can tell if they're making strides towards achieving their goal. And you can also reach out directly if you can help. And through this program, people have adopted children, they've found roommates, they've found new jobs, they've totally changed career paths, learned new languages, built apps, all because these members are connecting with one another, because people are talking about the things that they care about, and people are just inclined to want to help. So, I think it's really important to give people a platform to talk about those things that are important to them, because that's what ultimately makes people feel a part of something. And if people feel connected to something and to each other, that's what's going to make them come back and have goodwill and affinity towards your brand. So I thought it would be only fair to share my bucket list with you today. But I also want to use this as an example so we can start our own little community here together. So I want you guys to take the next 5 minutes and make your bucket list. And you can put anything you want on there, anything personal, anything related to your job, anything beyond that. Spend a little bit of time on that. Can I get anyone to share something that they put on their bucket list? Yes? What was that? That's incredible. Is there something that someone in this room could help you with in order to make that happen? If anyone has land they want to donate, you know who to call. Does anybody else have something they can share? Yes.
On my bucket list, I have run a community for women who love craft beer.
Yes. Sign me up. All right. Is there anyone in this room who could help with that? Yeah, okay. Sounds like there's a lot of people. Do you want to repeat it?
Oh, sorry. To run a community for female millennials who love craft beer.
So I think we have a lot of people who would sign up.
Yes!
But I'm sure there are plenty of people in this room who could also help you build that. Can I get one more volunteer? Yes.
Mine's a little more immediate, but I live in New York, and I want to find,
Me too.
woo! I want to find an animal shelter to volunteer at, like I've been meaning to forever, but I want to find
Are you in
one
the
that
city?
I jive with. Yeah.
Okay, we can volunteer together.
I'm into
dead
it.
serious. I've been looking for a good,
Heck yeah, let's
a
do
good
it.
activity.
Let's do
All
it.
right, we'll connect after.
Sounds good.
So see, this is super easy. All you have to do is talk about the things that are important to you and the things you care about, and it's really easy to find people who are willing and want to help. So I want you to take the next couple minutes and turn to your partner or a group around you and share the things on your bucket list. And your goal is to try and find at least one person you can help with something on their bucket list, and then exchange contact information, because I want you guys to follow up and actually follow through with this. All right, start now. All right, guys, I'm going to give you one more minute. So start wrapping up your conversations and swapping contact info. this is good. Sounds like we're making good connections. You guys! Thank you. All right, can I get a couple of volunteers of people who made connections that they feel are really going to help them moving forward? Yes?
Oh, yeah. Just like family building and how to maintain work-life balance.
Awesome. Do you guys hear that? Family building and how to maintain work-life balance. It's a great one, I'm sure many people need help with. I saw another hand over here. Yes? Hold on 1 second. Sorry, I think I pointed to two people. Back?
Oh, there we go. Hey, run a 5K again. So
Woohoo.
you recommended was it Myrna?
The
Myrnavator, who's like a motivational person when it comes to running for
it.
anybody from any size. And then she recommended a running group in San Francisco because we're both from there.
That's awesome. Have you tried Couch to 5K?
I did. That's how I ran my first
Okay,
5K.
awesome. Super cool.
And then I
Me
got
too.
married and I put all that weight back on.
All right, right here in the front. Did you have one to share?
Okay, so I'm willing to host his family in Nigeria and also teach him a Nigerian language and programming language. So,
Teaching them the language?
yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay, so I'm willing to host his family in Nigeria because he wants them to travel. And I'm also willing to help him learn programming language and one Nigerian language.
You're willing to host his family in Nigeria?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. Sorry I didn't hear that the first time. That's amazing. Mic drop. Anybody else want to share? Over to the corner.
I said that I wanted to travel to New Zealand, and he said he has a sister who works on a boat that travels around the South Pacific.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Hitch a ride on that thing. He can give you a place to stay. This is amazing. Okay, so see you guys, this is such an awesome example of how just sharing the things you want to do or the things you're passionate about can connect you to people and help you make your dreams a reality. I think we can all agree that there's not really a real roadmap for community, and I'm sure sometimes you feel like you're stuck in the middle of the stage at a dance recital with no idea what to do next, but I think if you can make people fall in love with the mission or your passion and make people fall in love with each other, then you're going to help them find a place where they feel like they're at home. And I think that's kind of a simple idea, but I think it's a really powerful one. So that's all I have for you today, but thank you very much. And I look forward to meeting you all later.